It's not gonna be an easy video to make, man. It's not gonna be an easy video to make. I'm really disappointed, man. I'm really disappointed. I just finished the grand finals on Sunday for ESEA TF2 season 22. Intermediate, man. We just won. It was awesome. It's a great ride, man. Really good time. But I got messaged by my team captain the day after that I was no longer going to be playing medic with them, and that hurts, man. That hurts. But I had a good time, and I want to tell you guys about my season. I want to tell you guys about my future. Let's talk about it, and let's go with the video. Mr. SLIN, ESEA Intermediate TF2 Champion, Season 22. Sounds pretty good. I'm pretty stoked about it. You know, it's the best finish that I've ever had in a season of TF2. I've had a bunch of like top 3 open finishes. Last season I played was season 17, and that was with Goldman Sachs. We placed 9th. So this is a big improvement for me. I'm really stoked about it. But things just didn't seem to work out. It sucks, man. It's terrible. It feels bad, dude. I got a message from my team captain. I messaged him a couple times. I was like, "Hey, now the grand finals are over. You know, are we gonna be scrimming as normal?" And people are like, you know, going to college and that kind of stuff. And he just messages me like, "We're gonna be playing with a different medic if we end up playing next season." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awkward. LOL." I mean, what am I supposed to say to that? Like, I feel completely blindsided. Like, we had a great season. Things seem to be going well. Now, granted, I wasn't the strongest player on the team. In fact, a lot of my peers told me that they feel that I got carried to victory. And you know what? Maybe that's true, man. We had some really good players on the team, and that's what made us so good. But, you know, I really thought that I could hang an invite. Like, I really thought that, like, you know, we might have had some problems here or there, but it wasn't anything we couldn't fix, you know? It wasn't anything that was breaking the team. Like, we wouldn't be able to compete in invite. I thought we'd have done just fine. But the fact of the matter is, you know, I'm thinking about it some more. There's a lot of teams breaking up next season, and there's a lot of players going to be looking for a team. So maybe there's some, like, currently invite medics that would be better pickups than me. And yeah, I guess that would be the case. You know, I dug a little bit deeper, right? It sucks getting cut like that, by the way. It feels like when you get cut by a Steam message, it's almost like breaking up with your girlfriend over a text message, you know? It's like, it's not very personal. It's just like, get the job done and get the message through, and that'll be the end of it. So that did hurt a little bit, man. That did hurt a little bit, but, you know, I understand why I did it. So anyways, I asked a little bit further. I said, you know, hey, do you think I could play an invite next season? And he said something along the lines of, I don't think you could play an invite right now. You had a lot of mistakes that just felt super weird. Like, your knowledge of how the game works is good for the most part, but you didn't seem to apply it well. All right, that's honest. You know, that's an honest opinion. It's not one that I agree with, but it's honest, so I'll take it. You know, and it is what it is. You know, it's a final decision. Sorry. So I don't know, man. I honestly didn't have very high expectations for this season. I'm going to start with that because the last time that I had played was October of 2014. That was the last time that I had played TF2 in ESEA. It was in Intermediate once again, but that was basically 2 years ago. And for the last 2 years, what have I been doing? Well, I started working at Twitch, and I was like, I'm going to take this streaming thing really seriously. And I thought, like, okay, I'm just going to stream a lot of TF2 and have fun with it. And so I played Pugs, and I surfed a lot, and I had no intentions of playing at all until 5 days before the ESEA registration was about to close. And Six Fox, who's a moderator in my chat, hopped in, and he goes, hey, you should play next season. And it really got me thinking. And it was like, maybe I'm missing out on something. Maybe I'm missing out on a integral experience of TF2, of competitive TF2. You know, I've been doing shoutcasting and a bunch of other random stuff. I was making YouTube videos, obviously. And I was like, you know what? It would be fun to play. It would be fun to play next season. And all the invite teams, like 5 days before registration closes, all the invite teams already have medics. There's no way I'm going to play an invite. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's see who's looking in intermediate. And there's really only one team looking for a medic, and that was Sam's team. And so I messaged Sam. I was like, hey, look, I wasn't really planning on playing next season, but hey, I'm looking now if you want to try me out. And he's like, okay, well, we're trying out this other medic named Soapy, who had played an invite 4, very good medic. And they're like, yeah, if he wants to play, we'll give him the spot. If he doesn't want to play, we'll take you. And they ended up taking me because Soapy didn't want to play. And if I didn't play on this team, I was actually planning on forming another team in Open again. I messaged a bunch of my friends who didn't have a team, and I was like, hey, like, do you want to play Open with me, just because it'd be fun to play again? It would be fun to be competitive again. And it just so happened that it worked out with Sam's team, where it's like, okay, well, like, why not play with this team? Why not have a shot at being a top 3 intermediate team? That would be fun. And the season went really well. Everyone, I feel like we got along pretty well. Those guys have been friends for a long time, and I fit in fairly okay. And yeah, like, all of our hard matches were really early on in the season. So we had won all the hard victories that we were going to ever have. And the middle of the season was super easy, almost to the point of boredom. It was like, you just show up to a match, you're going to win it, and then you go home. And all the matches were so one-sided. It was like, man, there's no way that we don't finish the season top 2. We were undefeated for most of the season up until the very end, when they did this thing in intermediate where when a bunch of teams die, rather than give you a bunch of free wins, you're supposed to play each team once, but rather than give you a bunch of free wins, they reshuffled the schedule, and we ended up playing against Bro King's team a second time, and we lost. And that was the only loss that we took the entire season. We went into playoffs. We won all of our there was 3 games that we played in playoffs, and we won all of them 2-0. So we really only dropped 1 map in the entire season. And by the way, the intermediate curse is still a thing. It's like, there's not been a single team to ever win intermediate undefeated. And even that includes our team. Our team, we did take a loss, and we still won intermediate. So that's just how it goes. And that loss is important, by the way, because I feel like that really kicked our team into butt, where we were just cruising through near the end of the season, and we took the loss, and we're like, man, we were actually trying in that match. Like, we cannot take a second loss to this team. And Bro King's team, early on in the season, didn't look very good, but then they made some roster swaps. They picked up Kawa on Scout, and they put Skis over on Medic, and that team looked a lot better. So we were like, hey, we got to scrim, and, we got to make sure we win this season. And, we ended up near the end of the season scrimming a lot of invite teams, and we did quite well. We would play EVL, we would play Running with Scissors. We even played Freyotech a couple times and beat them 2-1. And then sure, it's just scrims, sure, it's just practice, but it just went to show that, like, hey, we could actually, like, hang an invite. So near the end of the season, I was feeling pretty good. Like, I knew that I had some things that I needed to work on, but generally I was feeling pretty good about my medic play. I mean, I honestly feel like I was playing the best medic that I've ever played ever. And partially because I was playing with a bunch of players that were better than me. Yeah, I was learning a lot throughout the season and picking up a bunch of skills that I would have never picked up in pugs. When you play pickup games, you're playing with different people every single night. It's not as good practice. Like, you're working with people who don't care about you, because if you lose, they're not going to be like, oh, well, here's where you fucked up. You need to do this, this, and this. They're like, oh, well, pug's over. I'm never going to play with you ever again. So let's add up again and see what happens. People aren't, like, actively trying to help each other improve. Whereas when you're on a team, you are helping each other improve. You are working on things because you know that you're going to play with this person every night for 3 months. You want to make sure that by the end of those 3 months, you are still winning as a team. So I do feel like this is a very productive season for me. I do feel like I've worked on a bunch of things. I mean, one of my biggest weaknesses heading into the season was that I was terrible at counting Ubers. And by the end of the season, I got so much better at it. It wasn't perfectly accurate every single time, but I feel like, my general gameplay was pretty solid. My game sense had improved by a lot. Play calling as a result of that had gotten a lot better. And, I was at the point where people weren't really making fun of my movement anymore. That was one of my big problems a couple seasons ago when I was, in the thick of intermediate, was people would say that, I was really easy to hit and that I was super predictable. And nowadays I might be still predictable, but at least I was harder to hit. I mean, you look at the stats and I feel like I did a lot better. Now, actually, that's one of the downsides. A lot of my teammates did look at the stats and go, well, okay, the stats look good, but I mean, that doesn't mean you played well. It just means that you played really passively, or you got out of situations that you could have stayed in. You could have been a little more aggressive even. You could have put out more heals. You could have been here and playing with this guy in this situation. And again, I recognize that I had some flaws and that I could have done some things better. But generally speaking, I had made some really solid improvements. And improvements that I did not expect to make through the season. Like I said, my expectations were really low. All I wanted to do was just come back and play a season of TF2 because I hadn't played in 2 years. And for our first season back after 2 years of not playing in ESEA, I think I did a bang-up job. And I was really looking forward to next season, but I guess things just didn't work out. So, I've been giving it a lot of thought the last couple days because it was an experiment for me. If I never play ESEA ever again after season 17, I would have been totally fine. Nothing would have changed for me. I would have still had my job at Twitch. I would have still, been shoutcasting with Truck and whoever else and just having a good time with it and probably still streaming TF2. But I took a risk. I said, hey, look, let's play. And, I don't really care about my ego. I don't really care that I'm not playing an invite or that people are going to make fun of me for dropping or this and that. People call me a living meme, okay? I think that's ridiculous, by the way. I'm not a meme. But, I understand that there are memey things about me because there's certain tendencies that I have when I play TF2. And that doesn't matter to me, right? Like, I just don't have that ego where it's like, oh, wow, how dare you cut me from this team? I definitely deserve to play an invite, and you guys are a bunch of assholes. That's not me at all. This is like, wow, I can't believe you won intermediate. And that was a really fun season. And I genuinely had a good time. So, yeah, the question becomes like, what do I do now? And I could look for a team. There's a lot of people. I went to the LFT forum, and there's a lot of people that are looking for a team for next season. There's a couple dead invite teams. Maybe I could try out for an invite team. There's a bunch of high-level intermediate players that are going to be forming their own teams. Maybe I can try out for one of those. So I feel like I've proved that I can at least hang at the top end of intermediate. Whether or not my teammates thought that I could hang an invite, maybe not. But at the bare minimum, I can hang at the top end of intermediate. So why not go for it again? So I really feel like there's no shame in playing an intermediate again if that were to be the case. Like, a lot of my teammates are in that position. We're in that position in season 22, right? Like Marmaduke Grills, he could have played an invite this season. He would have been one of the better roamers in the division, I feel like. Sam and Rikachu, these guys had an undefeated season in season 21. Last season, they had an undefeated season in intermediate, and they finished the season second place. Like, they could have gone up to invite. There were spots there, but they chose to play in IM again just to make sure that, they're fully ready for invite, that they're fully ready to take on the teams in that division. And I respect that, and actually I think they're rejoining with Cookie Jake is my guess. There's a couple other medics that are looking for a team, but my guess is that they will probably pick up Cookie Jake or something else. I don't really know. But yeah, I feel like these guys can hang in invite now because they've played that second season of IM and just made sure that they can hang at the top. I don't have any shame in doing that. Like, that would be fine for me. I would have fun. I learned a lot this season. Like, I really feel that this season of TF2 was one of the most fun times I've had playing TF2 in a while. Sure, a lot of the matches that we played in were rolls, but I really feel like I was getting better with each week that passed. Like, with every week that I played this season, I feel like there was something that I was working on and that I was getting better, and I made a lot of improvements. So in that aspect, I feel like I succeeded. I feel like I got what I wanted out of this season of TF2. Now the question becomes, like, do I continue playing? Yeah, am I having so much fun that I need to continue playing, or should I go back to what I was doing before? And this is where I need your guys' help, right? I was shoutcasting, and that was really fun for me. I was making YouTube videos very regularly, and I was streaming a lot of TF2. And nowadays, to be quite frank, I am playing other games. Like, now that I've been playing on a team, a couple hours every night, it takes away from my streaming time. So I was able to put time into Overwatch, and I was able to put time into World of Warcraft and other games that I had interest in playing. So I feel like yeah, if things were to happen again, I would still keep playing those games. I still think I'm having a really good time playing things that are not TF2, but I can still contribute to the TF2 community. I still love TF2. I still love reading the forums and hanging out with the community. It's a really good time. So, maybe I pick up the shoutcasting thing. I don't know, man. I've been thinking it over a lot. I don't know where I'm gonna go from here. Um, what do you guys think? Like, if you were me, what would you be doing? Like, on the one hand, I don't think I could go back to the pug life, right? Like maybe I could play pugs and maybe it'd be fun. There's a lot of players who only play pugs. But like having seen again what it's like to be on a team, I don't know I can go back to that because it's frustrating as hell to play medic and pugs, man. Like there are some times where you'll have fun playing with other invite players or other top IM players, and it's a competitive pug and people are trying their hardest and it's a good time. But there's also other times where people are goofing off, especially with the removal of the ELO system from PugChamp. People don't take pugs as seriously anymore. If you lose a round, whatever. And they don't care as much. So when I'm dying a lot, they're like, meh. You're supposed to play with your medic. You're supposed to protect your medic. But in pugs, people like to get frags. People like to jump around and style on their opponents and test their limits, so to speak. It's a lot less about playing that team-oriented game and a lot playing more selfishly in pugs. And that's not as fun for a medic, honestly. It's not as fun. I could go back to shoutcasting. I had a really good time doing the shoutcasting. And I think that Truck, Yimmy, Marxist, these guys did a great job this season. But I also feel like having learned what I've learned, scrimming against invite teams and scrimming against other top IM teams, that, I can bring a lot more game knowledge back to the table. I actually understand a lot more about the game having played this season than I did any season before that. Like this is, like I said, the most productive season that I've had to date. So, getting back into casting, I feel like I could bring a lot to the table. Now, if I were to keep playing, can I bring back even more? Maybe so. If I keep playing, if I keep improving, then when I do return to casting, I would know way more about the game, right? But I feel like I have a lot to contribute now to casting. I feel like I haven't really been following invite that closely because I was playing so much, and I miss following the invite teams and watching how people do and what kind of cool innovative strategies and gameplay that they bring. It's really fun to watch, and I miss that this season. So yeah, I don't know. And the other part too is the motivation, right? It's the whole, if I continue playing TF2, what's in it for me? And you got to keep asking yourself that question all the time. Like if I'm going to keep playing this game, it's going to be fun, obviously, but like what's in it for me? If I were to win invite, you get some money, you get some like TF2 glory, and then what, right? Whereas if I, make YouTube videos for the community and if I shoutcast for the community, I'm bringing value to the community. I'm actually doing something for other people, and that feels really rewarding. It's in a different way. So I really like that option. But yeah, I think regardless, whatever happens to me now, I've gotten it out of my system. I've gotten a taste of what it's like to play on a team again and play at the highest level that I could play at least for the time being. So yeah, it was a really good time. Nothing but good things to say about my teammates. I have nothing but good things to say about playing in ESEA, and I had a really positive experience doing that. I think a lot of people don't like playing TF2. They don't like playing in ESEA, and they have their gripes. But for me, generally speaking, it's a good experience playing in ESEA TF2. You install the client, you play some games, and it's competitive and it's fun. And yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about that. So I don't know what I'm going to do from here. Post in the comments. Tell me what you think. Maybe you guys have some perspective on this that I just don't have right now. And, regardless, I still plan on being a part of the community. So don't feel like Mr. SLIN is going to be out of TF2 for a while. It's just a question of like, am I going to keep playing? Am I going to keep pushing my own personal skill forward, which is what I consider to be a selfish thing to do. I'm playing TF2 for myself and pushing myself forward and pushing my skill forward. Or do I, look back out to the community and go, okay, like I've had my fill. Now let's get back to, let's take the skills that I've learned this season and bring it back to the community and make those videos that I wanted to make on YouTube and cast those games that I wanted to cast on TFTV or whatever else. I think that would be a really fun time. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, see you around.